Lots happening right now in our region.
Perch patterns have been working really well.
The bite has been good.
Just keep snapping it off the body.
The down imaging, the side imaging. There's a lot of different variations and different ways to rig this.
Oh, yeah! Look at this giant.
They are heavy.
Oh, look at that.
On this week's show, we're talking metro fishing. This is AnglingBuzz TV. I'm Troy Linder.
And I'm Joel Nelson.
You know, a common theme across the upper Midwest, when you're talking about big city fishing, there's usually one or two big rivers that flow right through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Go down the big cities, Chicago, Minneapolis, and all throughout the Midwest. There are rivers there because that's what the city was really founded on. It was the lifeblood of that entire metro area for commerce and food and water. And I tell you what, the fishing has been good there for many years.
Yes, it has. And right now, let's take a closer look at hot metro fishing.
Most anglers love the peace and serenity of fishing pristine wilderness waters. They're beautiful and often have incredible angling opportunities. But for most people, however, wilderness fishing isn't an option for an afternoon outing. But the fact is, there are fantastic fishing opportunities in metropolitan areas. On today's Angling Buzz, we're going deep into metro fishing. Yes, Midwestern cities that offer excellent multi-species action. While some venues may not be the most scenic places, the quality of fishing can often leave scenery in the second seat. The Twin Cities of Minnesota are home to 22 city lakes and the Mississippi River with great bass, panfish, catfish, walleye, and muskie fishing. Duluth, Minnesota has the St. Louis River loaded with walleye and muskie along with a host of cold water critters in Lake Superior. Appleton, Wisconsin, on the shores of Lake Winnebago, is a stellar white bass fishery with walleye and bass as well. Green Bay, Wisconsin is a world-class muskie fishery, and if you time it right, tons of walleyes and giants in the Fox River. Milwaukee is home to world record class brown trout, as well as some awesome salmon and lake trout fishing. Detroit, Michigan, well, that's smallmouth, walleye, and muskie. And we can't forget the Dakotas, with the cities of Pierre and Bismarck along the mighty Missouri that's home to lots of walleye, bass, and cats galore. It doesn't take long. When the fish start biting to forget you're in an urban environment, it puts you right back where you're supposed to be, sharing time on the water with friends and a tug on the line.
Yeah, I absolutely love metro fishing. And pretty much every major city in the upper Midwest is set up right for fishing, from public docks, piers, public accesses, stocking.
Yeah, it's a diversity of opportunity, and I think that's really the key point is there's so many different options, and there's a population center there. So these game and fish departments, these Department of Natural Resources groups, openly list out these opportunities. They show you where the piers are. They have maps, places that they stock fish and have extra certain resources available. So all this information is available on the internet, and they're openly inviting people to come enjoy this diversity of opportunity.
Yeah, you can easily find this information online. And right now we have a short commercial break. When we come back, our highlight destination feature and the first of our Buzz Bite reports as Angling Buzz continues.
You have a choice, turf or surf. It's fishing season. Welcome to the outdoors. We're baiting, casting, drifting, and limiting out. The outdoors never felt so good. Catch, release, and keepers. The outdoors never tasted so good. It's fishing season. We are outdoors. Mills Fleet Farm.
According to Minnesota's Department of Natural Resources, in 2017, 97% of boaters surveyed by watercraft inspectors followed Minnesota's clean, drain, dispose laws. Let's keep it this way. Clean aquatic plants and animals from boats, trailers, and equipment. Drain all water from watercraft, including the motor, and keep drain plugs out during transport. Dispose of unused bait properly. Together, we're preventing the spread of aquatic invasive species in Minnesota.
Explore Alexandria, Minnesota. Whether it's a long weekend or a week-long loaded with family fun, you'll find plenty of things to do in Alex. Unleash your inner explorer with over 300 lakes, beaches, parks, hundreds of miles of trails, dining, golf, shopping, museums, and history. Alexandria is Minnesota's hidden gem. Go to explorealex.com to find your vacation this season.
Welcome back to Angling Buzz. Today we're talking metro fishing. You know, pretty much every major city across the upper Midwest, no matter what you want to fish for, it's available.
Absolutely. There's so many different species. When you're talking metro areas, you're talking panfish species. I can think of living on the outskirts of a major metro area, outside of it, actually driving into it to take advantage of some of the great walleye fishing on Pool 2, some of the great catfishing in the Mississippi River, and as you know, and bass are pretty near and dear to your heart. There's some excellent bass fishing in the metro areas.
Yeah, the river, I think of like Detroit River for big smallmouth bass, Minneapolis area for big largemouth bass, and carp, of course. Right now, let's take a closer look at some top metro spots. Milwaukee, Wisconsin is a prime location to catch king salmon, lake trout, and world-class brown trout year-round. It's all about timing. Throughout the summer months, when offshore wind brings in cold water and large schools of alewife, there can be some fantastic small boat fishing opportunities in and around the Milwaukee Harbor. This is an amazing fishery that local guide and brown trout guru Eric Hadia has promoted for years. Our next urban fishing hotspot is Detroit, Michigan. Situated on the shores of Lake St. Clair and the Detroit River to the south and St. Clair River to the north, the fishing options here are pretty diverse. If you like bass, Lake St. Clair is simply a smallmouth bass factory. There are miles and miles of water to fish with more weed beds and rock piles than you could fish in a lifetime. Mainstream tactics include dragging tubes, drop shotting, crankbaits, football head jigs, and jerkbaits. Lake St. Clair is also a world-class muskie fishery where the local guides consider a good day of fishing in the double digits.
Great muskie right here on Lake St. Clair. That is a phenomenal fish.
As far as presentations go, everything will work. Casting, vertical jigging bondies and soft plastics, high-speed trolling crankbaits, inline bucktails. A lot of the good guides troll multiple lines with boards for suspended muskie. If you're a muskie man, you want to experience Lake St. Clair's muskie magic. While there is good walleye in the rivers year-round, the best bite occurs in spring when large numbers of walleye move into the river to spawn. Fishing vertical with heavy jigs and plastic is a primary technique according to Sportfish Michigan's Ben Wolf. The last urban destination of the day is the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota. We'll start off with a little river fishing. Pool 2 of the Mississippi River, which is right through downtown St. Paul, has been total catch and release fishery for bass and walleye for 25 years. It also has a good population of white bass, panfish, and big catfish. There is no closed season on Pool 2. The Twin Cities also boast more than 22 city lakes, which vary in size, and many have stellar largemouth bass, panfish, and muskie fishing opportunities. There's actually a lot of metro fishing guides in the Twin Cities. You know, looking at that, it is amazing the size of the fish that you can get fishing in metro areas. Everything from bass, walleye, muskie, trout, salmon.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, some of the biggest species that I can think of and biggest catches I've ever had personally from walleye and catfish have been in the metro, actually leaving the outskirt, more remote areas where you think you'd want to be fishing to get into the metro to get at these trophy-sized fish. But one thing we can't forget is if you don't have a boat, there's no problem there because shore fishing opportunities in the metro area abound. And not just for little bluegills, there's some quality shore fishing opportunities for great big trophies of all species.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are for sure. And right now, we're going to join Nick Linder with the first of our Buzz Bite reports.
Now for our first report, let's head to north central Wisconsin, where Justin Geike is out fishing with his wife and son Chase.
They say in Wisconsin, if you don't like the weather, wait 10 minutes, and that's certainly the case here. We've had temperatures in the 90s, we've had temperatures in the 40s. It's absolutely crazy. And today, it's mostly sunshine with rain throughout the course of the day while the sun's shining, so nothing makes any sense. We've also had a lot of diversity in fishing. All species are pretty active right now. The smallmouth bass in the northern lakes are still on their beds. We've probably got another week to 10 days of that, where they're done on the Wisconsin River system and the flowages. Walleyes, we've been dealing with some high water down in the flowages and rivers, so that's moving those walleyes up nice and shallow, and we're using crankbaits in anywhere from 2 to 4 feet of water, and we're having a lot of success there. Bluegills are spawning pretty much throughout the entire systems right now, and just moving up to shallow sand, looking for those beds using your polarized glasses, and taking the kids out. It's a great time for family fishing. And also, muskies are really biting in shallow water, emergent vegetation, throwing bucktails and jerkbaits.
Now for our next report, let's check in with Jason Freed out on Leech Lake.
It's mid-June and the fish are starting to transition onto the major breaks, which means wind-blown shorelines, points, as well as reefs throughout the lake. So you're going to want to focus on 12 to 18 feet of water, anywhere it's where the wind is blowing, which is typically the name of the game on Leech Lake. Right now, the key is to being versatile, making sure you have different kinds of bait in your boat, as well as different kinds of presentations ready to go. Shiners, if you can get them still, crawlers, and leeches. All right, and the primary ways of using things, a jig and a minnow, especially on windy days, lindy rigs and crawlers, lindy rigs and leeches. And as we get into the bug hatch, which is going to start happening pretty soon, try utilizing spinners, whether it's a smile blade, with a slow death hook, a crawler harness, a spinner and a leech, a spinner and a minnow. Those are going to be all great ways to catch fish when those bugs are hatching. And it's a great way to cover ground and also locate fish. So if they don't go on the spinner, you can turn back around and slow things down with things such as a lindy rig or even a jig.
Yeah, there's a lot of different bites going on right now on Leech Lake, and it is critically important to stay versatile. Now don't go anywhere, because coming up next we got more Buzz Bite reports to come as Angling Buzz continues.
Having spent a lifetime fishing all over North America, I know a lot about water, wind, and waves. Water can be an inviting place, and yet at the same time, it can also be very unforgiving. With a simple push of a button, this fully adjustable Smooth Moves air suspension is designed to tame the waves and give you a smooth and comfortable ride no matter what conditions you face. Tame the water, wind, and waves with Smooth Moves.
Sportfish Michigan is your #1 source for top charter captains and fishing guides in Michigan. Our network of professionals are full-time anglers with years of experience providing customers with the best possible fishing trip services. Fish for trout, salmon, steelhead on Lake Michigan or its famous tributary rivers, the Traverse City area's world-class smallmouth bass, walleye fishing on the Detroit River and Saginaw Bay, or northern Michigan's spectacular ice fishing. We do it all. Sportfish Michigan. Get out. Get bit.
If you're looking at this, how do you know it's not this? If you see this, how do you know it's not actually this? Trust your AquaView and you'll see the real underwater world. AquaView leads by innovation. First in high definition, first in handheld viewing, the finest underwater optics, the brightest, sharpest screens, the original underwater camera, and the fish finder that puts you on the fish.
Looking for the perfect fishing vacation? Leech Lake, Minnesota. There's over 112,000 acres of water to explore with fantastic walleye, bass, pike, panfish, and trophy muskies. The fishing opportunities are endless. Leech Lake has it all, with over 30 resorts, lodges, campgrounds, and hotels line its pristine shores. Plan your trip. It's Minnesota's original up-north vacation destination.
Welcome back to Angling Buzz. Now for our next report, we're going to check in with Ben Wolf, who's talking about my absolute favorite species.
You know, one thing that a lot of anglers travel to Michigan for, as well as the Michigan residents themselves, is fishing for bass. You know, and smallmouth bass in particular. We have some awesome opportunities really on the inland lakes as well as the bigger bodies of water. For the anglers on the inland lakes, you know, we have a post-spawn condition on most of the bodies of water because they're much warmer. You know, soft plastic jerk baits, spinner baits if it's windy, crank baits. Topwaters are great options for those post-spawn fish. You know, lots of great action there for both largemouth and smallmouth. For those looking for bigger bodies of water, Lake Huron, like Saginaw Bay, Grand Traverse Bay, Lake Michigan, those are much colder, you know, and those fish are just starting to come up onto the beds. We really want to make sure that when we're targeting bass on beds, we get those bass right back into the water as quickly as possible. You know, take a quick photo, which we all like to do, but get that bass back guarding its nest, and that'll help ensure a great bass fishery in this state for years to come.
Next up, let's head up to northern Minnesota on Lake Vermilion with Billy Rosner.
The walleye bite's been pretty darn good up here. We're making the switch now to leeches and crawlers. Slip bobbers are working well off of some of your reefs, some of your points, that kind of stuff. Also, start thinking about the mud. The walleyes are down in there eating that mayfly larvae, and that hatch is going to be fast approaching. Leeches on a rig are working really well, and even a half a crawler on a rig is working well. Jigging wraps, ripping wraps, that's all going to put fish in the boat. Just look for those transitions, find that mud. Smallie fishing's been awesome up here. Just been throwing these small blue fox inlines, some smaller spinner baits. You can even throw some plastics for the smallies. A lot of those 3-pounders, 4-pounders, occasional 5-pounders. A lot of fun up here right now on Lake Vermilion.
Thanks, Billy. Now for our next report, we're gonna head over to the Alexandria area where Joe Segura has been on a really fun corking bite.
Well, we have 70-degree water temps on most of the lakes around the area, and the weeds are coming up nicely. And the fish, no matter what species, are congregating in these areas. So 10 to 12 foot of water, I've been finding crappies, sunfish, bass, northern, and walleye. I just looked to that depth, and I've been using a lot of leeches. Seem to be catching just about every species. For the crappies, I've been putting a little plastic on, but slip bobbers has been the name of the game. These are Pro Series fill bobbers. As you can see, they have a large diameter hole in the top, and they slide very fast. So I like to use the extra large bobber for the walleyes with a 1/4 ounce weight and a swivel, and then down to my fluorocarbon leader and just a simple 1/32 ounce jig. That'll do bass, northern, and walleye there, and then or just a little smaller jig for the finicky, sunfish, and crappie. You can put a plastic on there, minnow or leech there, and then just a split shot, and then of course the fill series bobber and your bobber stop. So you can set that to your depth, cast out to 12 foot of water, and really work a lake quite quickly with a bunch of slip bobbers in the boat. So 12 foot of water, and you should find quite a few fish.
No doubt about it, when you have all those different fish species congregated in one little area, it can be an absolute blast. And now for our last report, let's check in with Jeff Evans in Wisconsin, where it's all about the weather.
We had some crazy hot temperatures last week that got up into the 90s. Our water temperatures went up into the mid-70s on some lakes, and everything happened all at once. Smallmouth bass moved up shallow to spawn, and walleyes moved into shallow weeds to feed. We're finding smallmouth bass in rocks in 2 to 6 feet of water. There's a lot of spawning fish. Sight fishing is a great option right now, and I'm using things like this oddball jig with a Yum Dinger. Seems to be a real good presentation. For walleyes, find those first weeds in 4 to 6 feet of water in stained water lakes, or 8 to 12 feet of water in clear water lakes. Use a jig and minnow presentation, or just a slip bobber and a leech works as well.
Thanks, Jeff. Now stay tuned, because when we come back, we have cool products and the technique of the week as Angling Buzz continues.
sportsmen. We're truck people. We're gear people. We're Radco people. Top brands like Lear, Access, WeatherTech, Kurtz, and more. Price match guarantee. Exceptional service. Professional installation. Researched, tested, approved. Radco. When your truck looks good, you look good.
Lake Vermilion. Explore. Relax. Reconnect.
Minnesota's most beautiful lake.
Get hooked on our trophy walleye,
That's a beauty.
bass,
My favorite fish.
musky fish.
That's a beauty there.
Things to do? You'll never get bored.
Rooms with a view? We got 'em.
Lake Vermilion. 4 seasons of fun.
And that's all we need. We need next quarter so that we can postpone it to everything.
Yeah? Stop working right now! Look outside. Is this spreadsheet weather? No, it's not. This is fishing weather. So stop clicking, get out there, and catch a bass. Stop what you're doing and start fishing Rapala Ripstop.
Some lodges are just a cut above. Hawk Lake is one of those. They're the only Orvis-endorsed lodge in all of Ontario, and they're the 4-time finalists for the best Orvis lodge in all of North America. They feature cordon bleu trained chefs and offer some of the best freshwater fishing in the world. You can target trophy walleye, smallmouth bass, pike and lake trout on any of their 19 private lakes. Whether you fish with traditional gear or love fly fishing, Hawk Lake has you covered.
And now it's time for Cool Products, brought to you by Fleet Farm. We're talking Metro fishing. We're going to start right here from Bagley, the Pro Sunny B. Great little balsa crankbait, square bill, fantastic for bass in shallow water fishing. And a couple different swim baits. Swim baits are always a great choice. The Mimic Minnow from Northland Tackle. These are pre-rigged. Both these are pre-rigged swim baits. From Storm, the 360 GT. You have extra bodies on here. Really nice. Couple different sizes in, I think 3 different sizes actually in the 360 GT series. Really, really great. Just cast and really you can't go wrong. And from Northland Tackle, this is a great bait for fishing bass in thick cover like lily pads and weeds, the Jawbreaker Spoon. You know, put this on heavier line casting reel. This is also good for pike as well. Really, really great weedless bait for shallow water cover. And moving over here from Rapala, check these out. This is the 6-inch floating fish gripper from Rapala. I like this if I'm shore fishing, even in the boat. If you ever lose pliers over this side, you know it's a pain. This is a floating gripper, so you just grab it, you're dealing with pike or toothy critters. Really, really nice from Rapala. Check it out, the fish grippers. And also for Rapala, the utility box. This is nice. You know, you can use this like ice fishing because it's small. You know, it's perfect for like small little jigs for fly fishing as well. But I like on this side is you have a couple compartments here. I actually put little weights in here. A lot of times I use this when I'm shore fishing for bass, carp, and trout. You can put little weights, little spinners, little rigs in there, and you can also put jigs inside here. This is from Rapala, the utility box. And during this time of year, you know it's hot out there, but you need some rain gear that's not going to warm you up too much. So from Hook, this is a great lightweight rain gear combination, top and bottom. 100% windproof, 100% waterproof. Also packs really light, so you can fold this up, throw it in a backpack. Easily fits in any storage bin as well from Hook. And for a combination spinning rod for just about everything, you have an Ugly Stick. This is priced right around 50 bucks for both. It's a 2-piece rod. It's really nice. Keep this in your truck. If you shore fish like I do, you can just jump out, quickly put this together. It stores really easily, and it's a nice 2-piece for compact storage. Nice little handle on this. Again, this is right around 50 bucks, a combination from Ugly Stick. So definitely stop by your local Mills Fleet Farm store for all these products and more. You can also get these online at fleetfarm.com. And one last thing for you, join me outside. I'm going to show you something from Clam. This is the Quick Set Escape Screen Shelter. Now this thing assembles in 45 seconds, no tools needed. It has corners for grommets to stake it down. You have a water resistant roof. You have a screen on here, tear-resistant screen, fantastic, very, very durable. 45 seconds to set this thing up, no tools required. It is fantastic. You got a ton of room. Check it out from Clam, the Quick Set Escape Screen Shelter. Right now we have our technique of the week. I'm doing it this week. It is some shore fishing strategies that are definitely help you catch some fish. Over the years, I've caught some really great fish from shore. We're talking giant beasts and saltwater beaches to freshwater beauties in lakes and rivers. No boat, no problem. And I always try to keep 1 or 2 rods in my truck at all times, just in case. Finding good spots from the bank requires a slightly different approach than if you're scoping out a new lake you'd take a boat to. In that case, you might look over a paper lake map or your onboard electronics. Now for the shore angler, whether you're fishing streams and rivers or lakes and ponds, the pre-search starts the same on the internet. Metro areas across the upper Midwest offer some great shore fishing, and many waters are simply inaccessible by boat. Google Maps and Google Earth are the best tools at your disposal, and they're both free to use. When you're looking at areas first, I like to use regular 2D Google Maps more than Google Earth. Keep the map in default view and scroll around for the blue areas, water, and then zoom in with satellite view to get a better picture of what it is. It's easier to find the water in default than satellite when you're zoomed out. When you do find something that looks fishy, drop a pin or label or star it. Drop as many as you want to map out a route of places to hit. Many times, I start by looking for bridges. 2 reasons. 1, obviously these can be reached easily by a vehicle, and 2nd, bridges are fish magnets. For lakes, bridges can create current. For rivers, it blocks current, creating eddies. In lakes, this current can hold big walleye at certain times of the year, which usually can be difficult to catch from the bank. In rivers, the eddies are great for bass, cats, panfish, and more. Most major cities in the AnglingBuzz region have 1 or 2 rivers flowing through it. Now that you've starred and labeled the areas to hit on your mobile phone, it's time to hit the road, or water. Just like you would move around to find biting fish in a boat, use a similar approach, quickly moving from spot to spot with the vehicle to find active fish. Even if it's just soaking bread for carp, I won't spend too much time in one place. And of course, always be on the lookout for no fishing signs. And shore fishing gear is pretty easy. A backpack with a few tools, some extra line, a couple tackle boxes, 1 or 2 rods, and you're set for some shore fishing action. We want to thank Joel Nelson for joining us this week. This is a fun episode. You know, I love shore fishing. I love fishing in metro areas. There is some great and underutilized fishing to be had.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Troy. And I thought it was really cool using Google Maps as a tool. I think that's something a lot more people could be doing, no doubt about it. So make sure to tune in next week because we're going to be talking about something you can't do from shore, and that's trolling.
Yes, indeed. And we want to remind you, as always, to help stop the spread of aquatic invasive species. Anytime you leave any body of water, clean, drain, and dry.
And don't forget to check us out online at AnglingBuzz.com for the latest in fishing information from our region.
And you can also enter our sweepstakes to win a fun weekend up on Leech Lake, also a Fleet Farm gift card and some tackle as well. Thank you for joining us. I'm Troy Linder.
And I'm Nick Linder. We will see you on the water.
This week's Buzz Bite Report.
Tony Roach.
Ray Brolstone.
Lee Telkin here.
From Sturgeon Bay.
Lake Sakakawea.
Lake Winnie region.
Northern Wisconsin. Good luck, everybody.
Have fun.
We'll see you next week.